Around 2012, something broke in teenage mental health. Anxiety, depression, and self-harm all spiked at once, across countries, and psychologist Jonathan Haidt wanted to know why. In The Anxious Generation, he argues the cause wasn't more homework or scarier news. It was a swap. Kids traded a childhood built on real-world play for one built on smartphones and social media. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly what got lost, why it hit girls and boys in different ways, and the 4 concrete rules Haidt says can undo the damage. Haidt opens with a thought experiment. Imagine a billionaire shipping a generation of kids off to colonize Mars, without testing whether it's safe first. That's basically what happened when we handed smartphones to nearly every teenager on Earth. Starting right around 2012, the graphs for teen anxiety, depression, self-harm, and suicide all bend sharply upward. And it happens at the same moment in the US, UK, Canada, Australia, and beyond. That timing lines up almost perfectly with when smartphones became standard issue and Instagram-style social media exploded among teens. Skeptics might say kids just started reporting feelings more honestly, but Haidt shows hospital admissions for self-harm and actual suicide rates rose too. Numbers you can't fake by simply feeling more comfortable talking about sadness. So this isn't a vague cultural mood, it's a specific, datable worldwide shift, which is exactly why Haidt goes looking for one big common cause instead of 100 small ones. Haidt says 2 trends collided to create the perfect storm, and the wild part is they point in opposite directions. Starting in the 1980s, parents grew terrified of letting kids walk to a friend's house alone, climb trees, or bike to the store, even though crime rates were actually falling. This is what he calls the overprotection of the real world. Picture a 10-year-old in 1979 riding his bike across town unsupervised for hours, versus a 10-year-old today who isn't even allowed to walk 2 blocks alone. But right as we were locking kids inside for their own safety, we handed them an unsupervised portal to the entire internet, full of strangers, algorithms, and content no responsible adult would ever approve of. So kids became bubble-wrapped in the backyard, but left wide open online. And Haidt argues we basically got the safety equation backwards. Before phones took over, childhood ran on what Haidt calls free play. Unstructured, unsupervised time with other kids, where nobody's grading you and nothing bad happens if you mess up. Think of a group of kids inventing their own game of tag, with made-up rules, arguing about whether someone was really tagged, and figuring it out themselves without a parent stepping in. That messy negotiation is actually a workout for the brain, teaching kids how to handle conflict, read social cues, and bounce back from being embarrassed or excluded. Haidt leans on the psychology idea that kids are anti-fragile, meaning they don't just tolerate small risks and setbacks, they actually need them to develop courage and competence, the same way a bone needs stress to get stronger. But between the 1980s and today, that free, risky, unsupervised play quietly vanished from most childhoods, swapped for playdates on a schedule and screens in the back seat. And kids arrived at adolescence without ever having built those emotional muscles. Once smartphones arrived, Haidt says they didn't just add screen time, they actively broke 4 pillars kids need to grow up healthy. First is social deprivation. Instead of hanging out in person, kids started substituting scrolling through a feed for actual face-to-face friendship, which feels like connection, but leaves you emotionally hungrier than before, like eating a picture of a sandwich instead of the sandwich. Second is sleep deprivation, because a phone buzzing on the nightstand at midnight steals exactly the hours of deep sleep a teenage brain needs to regulate mood. Third is attention fragmentation. Every notification yanks a kid's focus away from homework, conversations, or even their own thoughts, chopping their day into tiny, useless slivers. And fourth is flat-out addiction by design, since apps are engineered by teams of engineers, specifically to be as hard to put down as a slot machine. using the same unpredictable reward tricks that keep gamblers pulling the lever. Put those four together, and you get a recipe that would make any kid more anxious, exhausted, distracted, and dependent, regardless of what's actually posted online. Haidt shows the mental health crash was steepest for girls, and he ties this to how girls' social lives got moved onto visual, image-based platforms. Girls tend to bond and compete through relationships and appearance. So imagine a 13-year-old comparing her ordinary bedroom selfie to a filtered, professionally lit photo from an influencer. That comparison happens dozens of times a day, and it's brutal. Social media also supercharges the kind of relational aggression girls already dealt with, like gossip and being excluded from a group chat. Except now, the group chat rejection is documented, permanent, and visible to everyone at 2 a.m. Layer on Instagram specifically, a platform built around posting your face and body for public judgment, and you get a pressure cooker for perfectionism that boys' more activity-based apps don't create in the same way. The result, backed by Haidt's data, is that depression, anxiety, and self-harm numbers climbed fastest and highest for teen girls, in exactly the countries where phone-based social media use exploded first. The crisis for boys looks quieter, but is just as real. And Haidt frames it as a story of withdrawal rather than comparison. Instead of chasing status through in-person risk-taking, sports, or building things, the stuff that historically turned boys into capable young men, a growing number retreat into endless video games, and as they get older, online pornography. Think of a 16-year-old boy who used to fix bikes or skateboard with friends after school, now spending 6 hours a night immersed in a game where he actually feels competent, respected, and in control, unlike his messier real life. That virtual competence feels good in the moment, but doesn't transfer into real skills, real confidence, or real relationships. So many of these boys quietly stall out, failing to launch into jobs, independence, or dating in their 20s. Because boys are less likely to talk about feelings, this often doesn't show up as visible anxiety like it does for girls. It shows up as disengagement, dropping out of the game of life rather than dramatically breaking down. Haidt doesn't just diagnose the problem. He hands parents and schools 4 concrete rules to break the cycle. And he's clear these work best done together, not alone. Rule 1. No smartphones before high school, giving kids a basic flip phone or no phone at all through middle school so their brains develop without a slot machine in their pocket. Rule 2. No social media until age 16, because that's roughly when a teen's identity and self-esteem are sturdy enough to survive public comparison without cracking. Rule 3. Phone-free schools, meaning phones get locked away during the entire school day, not just during class, so kids actually talk to each other at lunch again, like a 1990s classroom. And Rule 4, arguably the most important, give kids back more unsupervised real-world play and independence, like letting a group of neighborhood 9-year-olds walk to the park alone, the way earlier generations did. Haidt's key insight here is a collective action problem. One parent enforcing these rules alone can leave their kid feeling left out, so it takes whole schools, whole friend groups, and whole communities moving together for these rules to actually stick. The big idea Haidt leaves us with is simple. This generation isn't broken. Their childhood was rewired out from under them, swapping real-world risk and play for round-the-clock screens. And that swap is reversible if enough parents, schools, and kids make the change together. If this kind of clear, evidence-backed breakdown helps you see the world differently, subscribe for more deep dives into the books actually shaping how we live and raise the next generation.